Britain generally, 71% of the public wanted a ceasefire. They want the killing to stop. And we've been in this place before. We were there under the Iraq War when Tony Blair led us into an illegal war. And the British public marched to over 1 million people. They knew it in their bones. We didn't have the social media that we had then to see it, to be evidence it, to be able to look at the lies and undermine them with facts. But people knew it in their bones that this was illegal. And it turned out that the knowledge of the public's bones were more accurate than CIA reports of weapons of mass destruction. And at that time, we had Una King, who was the sitting MP for Labour, and she quite famously challenged the community because she voted for the Iraq War. The community was very vocal about and disappointed that she did so. And she basically challenged the community to say, well, if you don't like it, you can vote me out. So they did. And they elected George Galloway after her as pretty much an independent candidate and rejected Labour. Now, 20 years later, we're in the same situation, but this time we can see the actual genocide unfolding in real time. And Rushdara Ali's been in office for 13 years. The community was very vocal to her. They emailed her, they wrote to her. We even protested outside her office, and all we wanted her to do was to do what she said she was going to do in 2009, which is to stand with the Palestinians. On open platforms, she has said this for decades before. But when it counted, when people were being killed and the genocide was unfolding, she was completely quiet, and she even abstained from the first vote on the ceasefire. That's riled, the community up. It's a betrayal. But beyond that, she's been quite absent. She's not been an MP sitting in her borough for years. And I represented, the families of 3 girls who were lost to ISIS. They were brainwashed and trafficked by a Canadian spy across the border from Tower Hamlets, Bethnal Green Academy, frankly, her actual constituency. And in the 9 years that's unfolded, she's not spoken up for them. She hasn't even called any of their families, never met them. We asked for a serious case review in 2015, which was a mechanism whereby the council could instigate a root and branch review of what's gone wrong here, because we've lost some children. It's the worst case of child radicalization in the Western Hemisphere. Surely we'd want to know what happened. Surely there are lessons learned, or could be lessons learned from this. And Biggs denied it completely. She didn't get up and say, or pipe up and say that we need a serious case review, quite the opposite. So she's been silent on issues of her own constituents' children being lost to a terrorist organization. She's been silent on the issue of, certainly of Shamima Begum's passport or citizenship being revoked. She gave one speech in Parliament when Jeremy Corbyn was around, and did nothing more for it. And now, in more recent times, where Tory MPs are declaring that Tower Hamlets is a no-go zone, she doesn't even get up to speak up for her own constituents in her own borough, which is an incredibly diverse borough. It's got double the average number and rate of people from the LGBT community happily living there. It's got quite a mix of diverse backgrounds of people living there. It certainly isn't a no-go zone every Friday and Saturday night when people come to the curry houses and the watering holes out there. And Jess Phillips was quite happy to stand up for her constituents. Rushdara Ali not so, absent without leave and silent as a mouse. So having betrayed the community, she's just gone AWOL, and she not only does she need replacing, but we really, as the electorate, need to understand that we are governed by one party of neoliberalism, which will work together with each other in order to forward certain agendas. And our party political structure is captured. They're frankly, they are a blackmail operation, both political parties. The whole Whip's office is effectively a blackmail operation used against their own MP to whip them into shape. That's not how our democracy works. And because Gaza has shown that most starkly, we had 71% of the British public wanting a ceasefire in coming to an election year. That's low-hanging fruit. You know, any Conservative or any Labour Party member simply needs to say, well, we want a ceasefire. That's votes for you. But no, both parties rejected the will of 50 million British people. And we even had William come out, member of the royal family, saying that he wants to see an end to the killing. You know, the political parties want the opposite of that. So the only way to break that monopoly that this neoliberal complex has is to elect individuals as independents up and down the country to start eroding the monopoly that exists.
How optimistic are you about actually winning this?
So Tower Hamlets I am. Tower Hamlets has done this before, as in gone for an independent party aspire with the mayor's office and the council, and also elected George Galloway in the past. Now, that's not a one-off. We do have Rochdale, but the important thing about Rochdale is yes, there was a low turnout, but there was a huge stonking majority for Galloway. It was 40%. It was more than all the other parties combined. But the really important thing about that election was Dave the mechanic, who literally stated that he doesn't have any political views at all, and he came a stonking second, more than the Labour. We got more votes than the Labour Party and the Conservative Party in that election. So that's not a Gaza issue. Dave the mechanic was running on a Gaza issue and yet got a massive proportion of the vote. So that really does send a message that there are constituents and constituencies up and down the country that are just wholesale rejecting the Conservative and the Tories. It's no surprise when there is no such thing as the Labour Party. Keir Starmer literally stated publicly that the Labour Party are the true Conservatives. So you have an ultra-right Conservative Party or a Conservative Party wearing a red tie and sporting a rose. So there's an entire contingent of the political landscape on the left that is simply not being occupied.
I saw your graphic on that. It was very interesting and easy to see what's going on there. Now, what I'd like to know, because people who watch the show, we all support anyone standing against the two parties, and especially who are socialists. What can we do to help you? Do you need? Are you okay with money? Do you need people? What can we do?
I will need everything, but I haven't asked for money yet. Basically, I'm looking at the lay of the land. I've got my team together, and I will be putting out a website, and I will be putting a call to arms. But what I do need, which will be great now, is if people can spread the word through social media regarding the content that we have. That'd be great. And what we really want to do is educate everyone up and down the country about that graphic, about the fact that they're not represented by their parties, and to try and look for viable, credible, independent candidates in their own constituencies to vote for. I'll get my begging bowl out later, basically, but I want to make sure that we have our structure ready. We don't like to take anyone's money before we're good to go.